Hello again, many thanks for joining us. My name is Ernest Mino. Let's settle for the details of the stories. Now, and police have launched investigations into yesterday's violence in Jamestown between supporters of the opposition NDC and the governing NPP. The planned peace walk by both sides turned bloody in the Odododo constituency. Now, videos that have gone viral on social media, you see supporters of the two main parties hurling stones and throwing bottles at each other. Joining us on the line is my colleague Benjamin Akato. He is in the community. Benjamin, there's a scheduled news conference by the governing NPP. I can imagine they want to tell their side of the story. What is the latest you have from there? Hello, Benjamin. Can you hear me? And so I hear in the background the aspiring member of parliament, the candidate of the governing NPP, Nilante Bannerman, speaking there. But Benjamin joins us back on the line. Benjamin, I'm hearing in the background the aspiring member of parliament, Nilante Bannerman, addressing the news conference there. Bring us up to speed on what he's been saying.
I hear you, but I'll go ahead to tell you about what exactly is transpiring here. The parliamentary candidate for the MPP, that is in the person of Nilante Bannerman, just a few minutes ago started with his interaction, the press conference, and the snippets I've caught so far indicate that he says this entire activity or what happened yesterday was triggered from the NDC end, that in spite of the fact that the MPP members have tried to be peaceful, it's the NDC members who, while actually engaging on this walk, embarking on this walk, started hurling stones, broken bottles, and the rest at his members. He says this has been going on for a while, and indeed, that is what sparked some sort of retaliation, as I indicated earlier, with regard to the NDC's own office. So that is exactly what is transpiring here. The press conference is going on. A lot of members of the New Patriotic Party, at least here at the party's office, they have gathered here about 100 plus of them right here in Jamestown on the Mills High Street. There's also a security presence here. The police is also standing by.
Benjamin, if you can hear me, if the line is clear now, just for clarity, did you say that Nilante Bannerman is accusing the NDC of initiating the attack?
So what he did say a short while ago, what I caught from him, was that they have tried to remain peaceful as members of the New Patriotic Party in this constituency, but that the NDC continues to agitate them, especially on the back of what happened yesterday. So indeed, yes, that is the suggestion.
And what is the atmosphere in that community right now? You did mention that we have police. You mentioned that we have police presence there, but tell me what the atmosphere is. What are constituents saying about the incidents which happened yesterday?
Well, the atmosphere is charged, and indeed the police is here. I count about 7 of the police officers in their patrol car who are stationed here, and they are just patiently waiting. They are not interacting with the crowd, but I guess they are waiting to, step in case any altercation ensues. But indeed, there are about, like I intimated, about 100 plus people here, maybe 150, call it. And the atmosphere was charged. Initially, earlier, when I was interacting with some of them, I got conflicting reports. Now, some of those I spoke to earlier suggested that it was the NDC members yesterday who were first attacked by the MPP members while they were protesting on this street, and then they retaliated. But speaking to other members of this community, those who appear in a way to be supporters of the NPP, they are also suggesting that the NDC was on its walk, that they had not intervened, but then some of the NDC members started hurling stones. When they got here, where we are currently for the press conference, that is the office of the NPP in this constituency, one of their offices. And that is what triggered the entire, outcome. So basically, that is what is happening here. I also see a police vehicle, a truck of sorts, also passing by currently. Those are the scenes here on the Mills High Street.
Thank you very much, Benjamin Akato, for bringing us up to speed on that news conference being organized by the governing New Patriotic Party, telling their side of the story as far as the clashes witnessed yesterday at Odododiodo is concerned. But my colleague Kweku Asante was there, and here's his report.
More than 10 persons sustained various degrees of injuries, some with cuts to their head, arm and abdomen, whilst others sustained bullet wounds. Videos shared on social media show NDC and NPP supporters trading stones, bottles and occasionally gunfire. In the videos, some persons wearing NDC shirts and paraphernalia are seen vandalizing items in a one-story entertainment center said to be the base for the NPP. TV sets and other items were destroyed in the vandalism. The NDC and NPP are accusing each other of starting the fight.
And so that is what happened yesterday. My colleague Kweku Asante recapping event as it happened. Let's go on to the phone lines now, on to Zoom actually, and speak to Colonel Festus Abuaji. He joins us for some conversation on this. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on News Desk. We have just a few days to the elections. Last week, the EC, together with the police and some other security agencies, indeed the Small Arms Commission, launched what they call ballots and not bullets. Days after, this is what we are seeing. Should we be worried, knowing that Odododiodo is already a hotspot? It's been for years. Indeed, it has 50 hotspots within that constituency alone. Surprised that this happened, despite it being flagged as a flashpoint?
Not very surprised, but it's something that could have been avoided if certain considerations had been made. One of them is if the level of police protection was higher than what probably attained yesterday. Secondly, I think not many people would agree with me, and certainly not the NDC, but when marches of this nature are organized, sometimes out of good judgment, you select a route that avoids places that are known to be associated with your opposition. So assuming that they had gone from Opera Square to Accra to the other routes and not returned via the Atta Mills Highway, precisely the High Street area going towards so-called Blue Gate, probably this wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't mean that the NDC is being weak, but out of good judgment. But that wouldn't explain or justify why anybody would want to use, violence to disrupt a march that, for all intents and purposes, was peaceful. I know the argument is who started what, but that's not the issue. The issue appears to be that why would anybody use violence against a peaceful march, even if you are provoked? Does it warrant the use of firearms, assuming, by the other side? So this is behavior or political conduct and behavior that cannot be justified. And as usual, it is between the two major political parties. They are the ones who need to be called to order. That at all times you don't hear about the CPP or PPP or whichever other PPs. At all times, it is about the NPP and NDC, depending on who is in power. So that narrative is clear. Clear message is that when a political party is in power, it condones, probably actively encourages such kind of political misbehavior, which is in violation of the Act 999.
Which is why I find it interesting, Colonel. I find it interesting when you say that it does not matter who started what, because especially for the opposition NDC, who feel very much not in power and in control of the security apparatus, it will be necessary for them in trying to address these issues, call out the people involved and bring them to book, because they are claiming that they were at the receiving end, even though it's not been established at this point.
That's the point I'm trying to make. That yes, the peace march or the health march or walk was in itself a provocation, which shouldn't be. But even if it was a provocation, because it had entered an area known to be the stronghold, that is this Blue Gate area, does it mean the use of violence against peaceful marchers? So I'm not excusing the response by the NDC, but I'm saying that next time around, we're going to have the MPP also marching. And they might march in areas controlled by the NDC. Should the NDC now say, because they are provoked by the presence of their opponent in their area, they're going to use firearms? So the bottom line is that the conduct of political parties in this country is reprehensible, cannot be justified. And it's very sad when you have party executives coming to explain that NDC started or MPP started. It shouldn't have happened.
And as we inch closer to the December 7th poll, this year the campaigning has taken a different twist because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so a lot of these, the parties, the two major parties, are using these walks as a means of campaigning and making their presence felt within the constituencies. Although the Diodo, for instance, is a closely knit community, what would be your advice going forward as far as political activity is concerned? Because they have to devise means of carrying out their messages. We cannot hold huge rallies anymore. And so these are the strategies deployed by the parties. Going forward, what will be your advice on how such political activity should be handled?
Look, there's nothing wrong with a peace march, even if it wasn't for COVID. Anybody who wanted, as part of its political campaign strategy, to undertake a peace walk or health walk or whatever it is, it's a political right or civil right. Nobody can deny any party that, you know. So the question probably should not be what we should be doing. You see what I mean? The bottom line is that political parties are the ones behind these kinds of activities. They are the ones who condone the impunity. For instance, it was on 1st September, the last time that anything happened at Ododo or that Jamestown police station, when the MP was assaulted. Yeah. What has been the outcome? For all you know, some influential people, through telephone calls or other means, have prevailed upon the police not to act. You see, so if the police cannot act because its hands are tied, what else do we expect, the police to do? But having said that, as far as the police is concerned, and given the premise that you use for this segment, that if you map out flashpoints, that is not the end of itself. What measures are you going to put in place to ensure that you contain any incidents of violence? I have suggested that the police could have scaled up the protection that they were affording or according to the NDC march. But be as it may, this is a case study. And I think going forward, all political party activities of this nature must have adequate police protection to ensure that, the surge in violence is contained at the lowest possible level. We must also talk about education. Although it doesn't seem to be working, but we cannot leave it out of the equation. We need to constantly remind all Ghanaians, all stakeholders, as you said happened last week, that it is in our own interest to ensure that we have a stable Ghana. It's as simple as that. Now, because firearms were used, and you've reported that there were multiple injuries arising from the use of firearms.
Absolutely.
Where are these weapons? Why are we not making any efforts to find those illegal weapons in circulation, rather than be adding to it through illegal importations and smuggling and so on and so forth? So there are a whole lot of things that we should be doing. You know,
and it's interesting you mentioned education. We'll come to that, Kendall, in a bit, because the suggestion is that we've not seen much of education going on in the run-up to this election. I don't know if it's because of the turn-off event and the way things have happened with less political activity, but we'll come to that in a bit. But you make reference to the incident that happened a few weeks ago when the MP for the area was attacked by some people who allegedly were part of his team of security guards, but have defected to the governing NPP, and as a result had some issues to take on with him. With the coming in of the Vigilante Act and the law on vigilantism, do you see that indeed these vigilante groups have been disbanded? Indeed.
No, this is an old debate, isn't it? I have suggested, based on experiences from elsewhere, that a disbandment is not through proscription by a law. Beyond the law and further to the law, you build upon the law to take physical measures to dismantle the structures. So in terms of dismantling the structures, we've not done anything. One, as per the schedule attached to that act, there were supposed to be some disclosures by, call them warlords or the owners or leaders or whatever of these parties.
Yeah.
No disclosures have been made. Nobody has said that I've got 10, 15, 14 members, I have so many weapons, I'm funded this way or that way. Nobody has done that. The Attorney General's office, which was mandated by the law to pursue the matter, has also not done anything. So as far as I'm concerned, we only proscribed it. The groups went low, they lay low in order to let tempers cool. But evidence is coming up to show that they are still in existence. And every now and then we hear of such acts. But this weekend alone, there probably were 3 cases of such incident, including the Ashanti one.
Yes.
The Ashanti one comes into the debate because the police action took place at a political party office of the NDC under the pretext, or if you like, alleged armed robbery operations and so on and so forth. You say, then you have one that is not gaining too much currency. Something might have happened at German or in German. I don't know whether it is very current or it's a bit old, but it does appear that something happened.
So clearly, a lot of work has not been done post the coming into force of that law. But as we wrap up on this, Kendall, you talk about education. What sort of education are we looking at, and how should the messages be tailored to address this particular issue?
Well, those of us who grew up in the 60s, and for that matter in the, let's say 60s, and late 50s and 70s, the kind of Ministry of Information that we had is not this kind of Ministry of Information, which only takes media platforms and make press statements. There were Ministry of Information vans with cinema projectors, generators, and screens going around the countryside in my small village, or probably less than 1,000 people. They would come there and screen pictures and educate the population.
Okay.
Now, that kind of education has now been, left, if you like, for the NCC, which is also ill-resourced, hasn't got all the resources. Or the National Peace Council, which sometimes, for purposes of technicalities, cannot name and shame, because it wants to stay a bit neutral. So no education is taking place, apart from these individuals that we see on TV pledging that they are for peace, they are not for violence. And yet, on other platforms, their utterances, border on hate speech.
And
so there is a lot
that is
more
very
that
important that it's very important that we do what we preach, we practice what we preach. Ken, I would like to leave it here for now. Thank you very much for your time. We want to take you now to Odododiodo for that news conference. Nilanti Banaman is addressing the media.
Law down, destroyed it and dragged it away. It is interesting to know that earlier on, popular boxer Ibrahim Akamoko, also known as Bukom Banku, who is a staunch NDC fanatic, had climbed up here to fraternize with our members and to admonish the NDC people who were partaking in the work to emulate his gesture by fraternizing with our people and not fight. But we can all say that this fell on deaf ears, as some of the members of the NDC decided to do otherwise by throwing bottles and stones. Not satisfied with the damage that they caused here, and as has been their stock in trade, these hoodlums also besieged my political office at Jamestown, English, just adjacent to the Jamestown police station, to continue their brutalities and criminal acts, destroying some glass windows in the process. I need to put on record that we have coexisted. We are, however, not the least surprised by these acts of violence, considering the fact that in 2016, after a successful campaign launch at the famous Bukom Square, this same MP led thugs to go on a vandalization spree in the constituency on the back of yet another successful work in honor of the memory of our youth organizer, the late William Waters Rasbustego. On Saturday, the MP and his boys came running riot again without any provocation. It therefore goes without saying that these happenings in the constituency are explicitly orchestrated by the incumbent MP, whose persona and character depicts violence. This was the same person who, as the NDC parliamentary candidate in 2004, was cited for electoral fraud and violence and was injuncted from contesting that year's elections. The constituency from then on experienced peaceful electioneering campaigns and elections until he resurfaced in 2012 to contest the NDC primaries, which again was characterized by violence he masterminded. The lead up to that year's election and the events before, during and after the 2016 elections is still fresh on the minds of people. Madam Esla Usue Kufu, Abu Jinapo, the late Jacob Echebilamte, and my good self have been victims of his thuggery. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, yesterday's violent and unprovoked attacks goes to confirm that the MP has not departed from his violent ways. I take this opportunity to condemn in no uncertain terms the unwarranted attacks on our members, other innocent citizens of the constituencies, our bases and my private office in the constituency. I hereby call on the police to, as a matter of urgency, arrest these NDC thugs and let the law take its due course to serve as a deterrent to their likes, failing which our people will be left with no other option than to defend ourselves. For now, I can only urge my people to remain calm, even in the face of these extreme provocations. I also call on the Grand Traditional Council, Nime, Name, the clergy, imams, and all well-meaning Ghanaians to call the violent MP to order before things get out of hand. We all owe it a duty to the people of Ododiodo and Ghana by extension to jealously protect and safeguard the peace and stability that we continue to enjoy before, during, and after the 2020 general election. And
so that's the parliamentary candidates for the governing NPP in the Ododo constituency. Addressing a news conference there, he accuses the Member of Parliament for the area, Neil Lante Vanderpoy, of instigating the attack yesterday. Will definitely reach out to him for his side of the story, but most importantly to the police on steps they've taken so far, because we do know that they've started investigations into the issue. But away from the Greater Accra region, from Ododo, let me take you to the Ashanti region. And some NDC supporters from Asawase staged a protest at the regional headquarters of the police over the weekend to demand the release of some 10 persons arrested in the swoop. The police, in a statement, explained the arrests were part of routine police swoops in response to recent robberies in the region. But the NDC MP for the area, Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak, and the party supporters dispute this. 9 of them were eventually released, but one, identified as Scorpion, remains in custody. Love FM's Erastus Asare Donko has more in this report.
A statement from the police said the swoop, which saw the arrest of the 10 men, was part of a special police operation in response to recent cases of armed robberies in the metropolis. But the MP for Asawase, Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak, and supporters of the NDC say otherwise. They visit police headquarters to show solidarity. So some of these supporters came here as early as 9 a.m. today, and they are protesting the arrest of 10 men who were arrested yesterday in front of the office of the Member of Parliament at Abuabo in Kumasi. Now what you're witnessing now is just a confrontation, verbal exchanges between the supporters and a number of police personnel who have been brought here to maintain law and order. Now they were protesting and insisting that the 10 people be granted police inquiry bail. Now 9 of them have been granted police bail. It's left with one identified only as a Scorpion, who the police are keeping in their custody, and according to the MP, they are using him to do their investigation. MP for Asawase, Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak, expressed reservations for the style of arrest adopted by the police.
They said that they were looking for a suspect and they were chasing, and they go to do this swooping. So the only thing they can say is that it was on basis of suspected robbery, but not caught in the act. I mean, you come in front of my office, young people are there taking their supper, you swoop and collect all of them, and the only thing you can find on your mind is to say suspected armed robbery. Well, I don't know, I'm not a police officer, but it looks weird for me. Well, I believe you could find something else to say rather than to say suspected robbery. But I'm not a police officer, like I said. They are police officers. I only hope they are going to be fair and just and professional in the work that they do.
Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asare Donko, Kumasi.
I have more election stories for you. The Electoral Commission says it did the right thing in disqualifying some 5 presidential candidates. It is urging the aggrieved individuals to proceed to court if they still have issues regarding the nomination process. Now, speaking on the probe on the JoyNews channel Sunday evening, Deputy Commissioner Dr. Bosman Asare said the ample opportunities for correction of mistakes were handed all candidates.
We don't have any report as yet. I know our legal department has worked on it, and I need to check whether they've even given to the CI, but we know that was the strategy to do that. But I think we as a commission, I know I made the point that the mandate of the Electoral Commission is so sacred that we are not going to engage in anything to undermine the ambitions of individuals and even political parties. We need to be clear. Some of these activities, they border on criminality, forging of people's signatures, other things, and those were the things the commission looked at. And anyone who indicated that the commission didn't give him or her the chance to do the corrections is not being very factual to the people of this country. We went through the process. We shouldn't forget that there were 2 political parties. I think the PNC, they
they came very late, and when they came, it was even around 4 o'clock or so. And the exercise we finished around 4:30, and they had some minor corrections to be, and they were able to do that. So all the parties were given the chance, including the independent candidates. So as far as the Electoral Commission is concerned, we treated the parties and independent very, very fairly.
Okay.
So that's why we strongly believe that some of the actions, some of the things they did, they border on criminality. So we are referring to the appropriate quarters. And for people to say they are taking the Electoral Commission to court, you know, by the nature of our work, I think every month we go to court.
How many cases? How many times have you been to court?
I would say 1 month, one case. 1 month, one case in Accra. Regionally, we get several. By the nature of we understand that's how our system is set up, so that in case there is any misunderstanding, we don't argue, we don't fight, we use the legal processes. So it's a right thing for them to go to court. But I know as the commission, we've really done what we have to do.
Now, religious leaders are cautioning against violence and the creation of fear and panic as the country heads to the polls come December 7. Speaking at the Maiden Joy Christian Election Forum on the theme Election 2020, the role of the church, the leaders urged the local churches to identify hotspots in their communities and campaign for peace. President of the Concerned Clergy Association of Ghana, Bishop Benny Wood, says this measure can reduce tension already being created.
There's been a lot of prayer, and it's a choice you have to make to live and not die because of somebody's political ambition. Don't sell your soul. Make sure you are going to vote, and when it's time for counting, you go there, make friends, just share the joy and the happiness of seeing Ghana move on to another level. I believe with all my heart and with all the prayer we have prayed that we're going to have peace. So don't think of trouble. There's going to be peace, and we are going to come out successfully like never before. In Jesus' name, amen.
So that's Bishop Benny Wood of the Concerned Clergy Association. There's been the concern that churches do not engage actively in the country's political process. Well, General Secretary of the Christian Council, Reverend Cyril Fayose, says they are actively engaging their members and communities to stand for peace.
Even though we have some skirmishes, it is rather the exception rather than the rule. So people should go out there and vote. In fact, the Christian Council of Ghana is on the ground organizing voter education seminars and training workshops in 5 of the 16 regions. We can't cover the whole country, but especially because of COVID-19, we can't cover the whole country. We have been able to do 5 regions, and we are still doing. In fact, this coming week, the Christian Council is going to be in the Volta region, and we are going to cover most of the places in the Volta region, educating the voters to go out in their numbers to vote. Because if you don't go out to vote, someone is going to vote for you. And the provision has been made for their security. So they should go out there confident that nothing will happen to them. And they should vote peacefully and go back to their homes even as they wait for the results. The politicians should know that they must have citizenry to be able to rule over them, maybe when they win.
Now, speaking on the same program, President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference, Archbishop Philip Name, also urged Christians to demand accountability from politicians. Listen.
I think the church, as previous speakers have noted, is one dimension of the human reality. The church is to ensure that no one forgets about the human reality as having a dimension here on earth, but also a dimension which links him to his God and his Creator, and what God intends that our life should be here. Politics is about managing the human life here on earth. And the church life too constantly must remind us that we are created by a God, and we are going to give an account to God for all that we do here.
Now, an executive member of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, Bishop Samuel Nimoy Mensah, has also been speaking on governance. He says corruption will never be uprooted from Ghana if punitive measures expected to be meted out to perpetrators are not enforced. He is recommending a review of sanctions aimed at making corruption unattractive.
Over the period of our democratic governance, every successive government has been more corrupt than the previous government. All right?
Please say that again for clarity.
Since our 1992 Constitution and we were into the Fourth Republic, every successive government have been more corrupt than the previous government. And
you are saying it means that we are worse off than we used to be?
Exactly, in corruption. And the next government will be more corrupt than this present government.
Prove that, Bishop Mensah.
The reason why this has happened is that nobody has witnessed people being punished for being corrupt. You come to office, and within 4 years, you acquire lands, filling stations, buildings, and what have you, and you are coming from among the society. And the people knew you before you went into government. And within 4 years, how can you probably acquire all this wealth? And yet nobody will call you to question. Nobody will prosecute you because the member of government who must prosecute you, the Attorney General, is in his own government.
You know, founder and Apostle General of the Royal House Chapel International, Most Reverend Sam Kranchi Ankra, has committed to the Joy Peace campaign and is urging politicians to seek the interest of Ghanaians first.
Why should I, when I'm in opposition, why should I be envious of this? It's a good thing. We need to commend him and thank him, Mr. President. Thank you. I'm thanking you on behalf of my people, Royal House Chapel, the poor people who cannot pay water, who cannot pay electricity. Thank you for what I call political sensitivity. Thank you. We live in a country where when you are in opposition, and I said again, not this one, but all around, when they are in the opposition, nothing good the people in the palace do that pleases them. They will criticize everything, abuse everything, insult everything, refuse to see every good thing. What kind of spirit is this? It is satanic spirit of envy and jealousy. But do you know why you don't need to kill yourself? Why you don't need to be envious and you don't need to be jealous? Because one day God will also bring you from opposition and you enter into the palace. When you enter into the palace, you to go and find some good thing to do for the people.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Government, through the National Information Technology Agency, NITA, has moved to avert threats to cybersecurity in the country. It has unveiled a security operations center to monitor the cybersecurity space of the entire national data center. There's more in the following report.
As part of ensuring quality information technology and the promotion of standards, the National Information Technology Agency, NITA, has launched the Security Operations Center to monitor threats to cybersecurity. This was done through the introduction of e-government program financed by the World Bank. The center has been designed to monitor the entire national data center. It will be operational 24/7 and managed by 6 experienced cybersecurity agents. Speaking at the launch, the Director General of NITA, Richard Autry, said the importance of this innovation should not be underestimated.
The quest to ensure the provision of quality information communication technology and promoting standards of efficiency and high quality of service cannot be achieved without making sure that there's some high level of assurance of operating in a safe and secure cyberspace. This is why I see today's official opening of the SOC as a very significant step towards achieving the digitization agenda under the leadership and the government of His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. One cannot overemphasize how critical, vital, and relevant the establishment of this center is to the ICT architecture of the country.
The Minister of Communications, Esla Owusu-Ekufo, said the Security Operations Center will facilitate the identification of patterns.
Not every organization would have the capacity, the wherewithal to be able to put in its own defense mechanisms. This is scalable enough to accommodate both the public sector and the private sector, which needs protection from the cyber criminals out there. And we all do. The more we engage online, the more exposed we are to cyber attack. And you may not have the eyes to see where it's coming from. This center would assist us to know which IP address the attack is coming from, and even block the detected IP addresses. The training facility for me is even more interesting because it gives us the opportunity to provide hands-on training to build the capacity of our own staff and Ghanaian personnel in this very specialized area. And I keep encouraging people to get into cybersecurity because worldwide, we don't have enough people with the right skills to man all the installations that we're putting in place. So anyone who has those capabilities will be assured of a job any day, anywhere, if you have the right capability. And I think this would add to our efforts to build up local capacity in this area and even for export in the sub-region and beyond.
In other news this morning, the Africa Export and Import Bank, together with the Secretariat of the Continental Free Trade Area, is making progress with moves to reduce the cost of transacting business among African countries under the Trade Pact. The cost of doing business has been identified as a key challenge in promoting intra-Africa trade due to the unavailability of a common payment system for all the 54 countries. However, speaking with journalists in Accra, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, Kelly Many, hinted that the common trade platform is in the offing.
So you have to develop first, as a primary step, you have to develop a country's export capacity. And export development is at the core of this conference. So that businesses, private sector, small, medium enterprises, so that they know how to reach new markets on the African continent. So this is very much part of implementation of the AfCFTA, the pillar of export development.
You spoke about currency when it comes to trading among African nations and your collaboration with the Afro-Exim Bank. Yes. How far is it going? How soon are we going to have it? 1st January, is it possible?
Well, we are working as hard as we can to make sure that the Pan-African payments and settlement platform is rolled out and is up and running as early as possible next year. I'm not able to give timelines now because we're working with Afro-Exim Bank. However, we are fully conscious of the fact that it has to be up and running if we want to reduce the cost of transactions and the cost of trade in Africa. So we are trying to make sure that as we roll out the trading date on the 1st of January 2021, that the platform is rolled out at the same time. But it's difficult to give a deadline.
That's it for business. The news continues after this break.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, Multimedia won big at the 25th GG Awards held at the weekend with host of Newsfile, Samson Ladia Yenene, crowned Journalist of the Year. In all, 15 awards were served by the Multimedia Group. Samson, Albert Sori, Nancy Mfadra-Dosi have been speaking about the awards on the AM show. We apologize for that break there. We'll bring you that soundbite definitely in our subsequent bulletins. You hear from Albert, you hear from MFA Nancy Dradosi of course, Prince Apia, and then Samson Ladi Ayene. But we are proud of you guys, and thank you very much to the GJ as well for acknowledging the efforts. It's now time for sports, and George Adedina is here with me. George, you didn't win an award over the weekend,
sure,
but you have some great stories to tell us today.
Yeah, great stories to tell you about, and I was just going to say that normally these awards are only reminders of how great multimedia is. We don't, we get the awards, we love them, but I think everybody can agree that this is the best media house in Ghana.
Absolutely, with or without the awards. But
so it's good to have the reminders all the time when they come in like that. Congratulations to
That's great. Let's talk about the
it was a good weekend, but I think it was a weekend that was one that was clouded with a lot of controversy. With once again the video assistant referees coming right into the shot again. Let me start with the worries of Chelsea fans. Maybe we can see that shot shortly. Chelsea up against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Chelsea hadn't won at Old Trafford since 2013, so we're looking to get at least a point. There was it ended goalless, that game, but there was an incident that Chelsea fans felt that the referee should have picked that up and at least given them a penalty. In fact, the Chelsea coach Frank Lampard did talk about it. Harry Maguire, the captain of Manchester United, with his hands around the Chelsea captain Cesar Azpilicueta, and he actually brought him down like it was a wrestling match or it was a
and I saw a lot of people tweeting about this.
Really. I'm sure you saw the pictures all around clearly. And so, those are some of the issues. Of course, Arsenal against Leicester City. Leicester City won the game by 1-0, but in the process, Arsenal scored a goal, and that goal was disallowed. Mikel Arteta says, I don't know why you disallowed my goal.
But it's interesting how this is turning out, because VAR used to be like, it was like the solution for all these issues. Exactly.
And now we're having more complaints with VAR than we had when there was no VAR. So my question is, what kind of role are they playing at the moment? Because they're putting a lot of us into, unnecessary debates and arguments when we have VAR. So what VAR is supposed to do is, the referee makes a mistake, he's not sure, you go to the video, you check it out, and give us the right
Clear every doubt.
Clear every doubt. But now we are having more doubts after
creating more doubts.
Look, the El Clasico between Real Madrid, Barcelona as well. Ronald Koeman came out to say that, look, it looks like VAR is all about, Real Madrid, and it's not about that. So I think the controversies are on. Tonight we've got some games to go through, and we'll see how it pans out.
About Lewis Hamilton.
A quick one about Lewis Hamilton.
You know what they say, it looks impossible until it's done. Last week we were talking about he equaling some of the record.
Michael Schumacher's record of 91.
And now he's broken record.
Yeah, he's broken the record. Now he's on 92 wins, and he's very likely to go all the way to break the championship or equal the championship record. He's a 6 now. Michael Schumacher had 7. I'm sure the 7-7 is going to happen. And then from there, he'll probably do 8 or more. We're going to see more of Lewis Hamilton in Formula 1. But it was great stuff to see how it all came through.
Definitely. Thank you very much, George, for bringing us up to speed. But that'll be it for the show this morning. You have more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I'm Ernest Mino. Up next is JoyNews Interactive with Mapito Sabidi. Stay with us.